Good Saturday morning, everyone, and welcome into today's daily Bible reading for October the 28th. Today we are reading together in Second Chronicles chapter 6, which is going to tell us about the dedication of the temple and Solomon's prayer during this dedication ceremony. So let me get that text up on the screen for us. We'll read along together here in Second Chronicles chapter 6. Again, yesterday we read about the construction of the temple and all the incredible detail that went into that and made it one of the most glorious, if not the most glorious building that has ever been created, especially concerning the significance behind this structure. And then we read about the preparations for the dedication. Everyone has gathered together. This is a huge undertaking by the people. This is a great effort by all of those who are involved. All the Levites wanted to be consecrated regardless of their division, so they could all participate in this glorious event. We're going to see what takes place at the dedication of the temple here in Second Chronicles chapter 6, beginning in verse number 1. Second Chronicles 6, verse number 1, then Solomon said, Yahweh said he would dwell in total darkness, but I have built an exalted temple for you, a place for your dwelling forever. Then the king turned and blessed the entire congregation of Israel while they were standing. He said, Blessed be Yahweh God of Israel. He spoke directly to my father David, and he has fulfilled the promise by his power. He said, Since the day I brought my people Israel out of the land of Egypt, I have not chosen a city to build a temple in among any of the tribes of Israel, so that my name would be there. And I have not chosen a man to be ruler over my people Israel, but I have chosen Jerusalem so that my name will be there. And I have chosen David to be over my people Israel. My father David had his heart set on building a temple for the name of Yahweh, the God of Israel. However, Yahweh said to my father David, Since it was your desire to build a temple for my name, you have done well to have this desire. Yet you are not the one to build the temple, but your son, your own offspring, will build the temple for my name. So Yahweh has fulfilled what he promised. I have taken the place of my father David, and I sit on the throne of Israel, as Yahweh promised. I have built the temple for the name of Yahweh, the God of Israel. I have put the ark there, where Yahweh's covenant is, that he made with the Israelites. Then Solomon stood before the altar of Yahweh in front of the entire congregation of Israel and spread out his hands. For Solomon had made a bronze platform, 7.5 feet long, 7.5 feet wide, and 4.5 feet high, and put it in the court. He stood on it, knelt down in front of the entire congregation of Israel, and spread out his hands toward heaven. He said, he prayed this, Solomon did. Yahweh, God of Israel, there is no God like you in heaven or on earth, who keeps his gracious covenant with your servants who walk before you with all their hearts. You have kept what you promised to your servants, my father David. You spoke directly to him, and you fulfilled your promise by your power, as it is today. Therefore, Yahweh, God of Israel, keep what you have promised to your servants, my father David. You will never fail to have a man to sit before me on the throne of Israel. If only your sons take care to walk in my law as you have walked before me. Now, Yahweh, God of Israel, please confirm what you promised to your servant David. But will God indeed live on the earth with humans? Even heaven, the highest heaven, cannot contain you, much less this temple I have built. Listen to your servant's prayer and his petition, Yahweh, my God, so that you may hear the cry and the prayer that your servant prays before you, so that your eyes watch over this temple day and night toward the place where you said you would put your name, and so that you may hear the prayer your servant prays before this place, or toward this place. Hear the petitions of your servants and your people Israel. May they pray toward this place. May you hear in your prayer, may you hear in your dwelling place in heaven. May you hear and forgive. If a man sins against his neighbor and is forced to take an oath, and he comes to take an oath before your altar in this temple, may you hear in heaven and act. May you judge your servants, condemning the wicked man by bringing what he has done on his own head and providing justice for the righteous by rewarding him according to his righteousness. If your people Israel are defeated before an enemy because they have sinned against you, and they return to you and praise your name, and they pray and plead for mercy before you in this temple, may you hear in heaven and forgive the sin of your people. May you restore them to the land you gave them and their ancestors. When the skies are shut and there is no rain, because they have sinned against you, and they pray toward this place and praise your name, and they turn from their sins because you are afflicting them, may you hear in heaven and forgive the sin of your servants and your people Israel, so that you may teach them the good way they should walk in. May you send rain on your land that you gave your people for an inheritance. When there is famine in the lands, when there is pestilence, when there is blight or mildew, locust or grasshopper, when their enemies besiege them in the land and in cities, when there is any plague or illness, every prayer or petition that any person or that all your people Israel may have, they each know their own affliction and suffering as they spread out their hands toward this temple. May you hear in heaven, your dwelling place, and may you forgive and give to everyone according to all their ways, since you know each heart. For you alone know the human heart, so that they may fear you and walk in your ways all the days they live on the land you gave our ancestors. Even for the foreigner who is not of your people Israel, but has come from a distant land, because of your great name and your strong hand and outstretched arm, when he comes and prays toward this temple, may you hear in heaven, in your dwelling place, and do all the foreigner asks you. Then all the peoples of the earth will know your name, to fear you as your people Israel do, and know that this temple I have built bears your name. When your people go out to fight against their enemies, wherever you send them, and they pray to you in the direction of this city you have chosen, and the temple that I have built for your name, may you hear their prayer and petition in heaven and uphold their cause. When they sin against you, for there is no one who does not sin, and you are angry with them, and hand them over to the enemy, and their captors deport them to a distant or nearby country. And when they come to their senses in the land where they were deported, and repent and petition you in their captors' land, saying, we have sinned and done wrong, we have been wicked. And when they return to you with all their mind and all their heart in the land of their captivity where they were taken, and when they pray in the direction of their land that you gave their ancestors, and the city you have chosen, and toward the temple I have built for your name, may you hear their prayer and petitions in heaven, your dwelling place, and uphold their cause. May you forgive your people who have sinned against you. Now, my God, please let your ears be open and please let your eyes be open and your ears attentive to the prayer of this place. Now, therefore, arise, Yahweh God, come to your resting place, you and your powerful ark. May your priest, Yahweh God, be clothed with salvation, and may your faithful people rejoice in goodness. Yahweh God, do not reject your anointed one. Remember your servant David's acts of faithful love. And that is 2 Chronicles chapter 6, which is once again the dedication of the temple and Solomon's beautiful prayer to God at the dedication ceremony. Again, everyone is gathered here. This is a most glorious event, and Solomon stands up and just speaks about what has led them to this place, that he was able to build this temple for Yahweh. And he goes and speaks about this all being a fulfillment of Yahweh's promise to his father David. All of this, really, this entire section is built upon the promise that Yahweh has made to David and the covenant that Yahweh made with David, going back to 1 Chronicles chapter 17, where we find it in the Chronicles section, 1 Chronicles 17, that no, David would not be able to build the house himself, but his throne and his lineage would be established before God. And one of the incredible signs of that would be the reality of this temple. So he talks about that and then says in verse number 10, so Yahweh has fulfilled what he promised. And that's most key. Yahweh has fulfilled what he has promised. So Solomon then stands on this platform that he has built in the courtyard. And as he offers this prayer, the text says that he stands on the platform but kneels down on the platform. He spreads out his hands toward heaven, so you can imagine he'll be on his knees and having his hands held out like this. And he prays this beautiful prayer, which again acknowledges the promise, the fulfilled promise that he made to his father David, and just the faithfulness that has been seen between David and Yahweh. And now Solomon wants to build upon that. And he says, verse 17, now Yahweh, God of Israel, please confirm what you promised to your servant David. And it is basically about Yahweh's presence being here in this temple. That as you are here in this temple, as your presence is here, number one, the text says, please listen. Listen, hear the cry, hear the prayer. Let your eyes watch over. Again, hear the prayer, hear the petitions. May you hear and forgive. That's what this prayer is predicated upon. That from this place, there is now going to be an extra special relationship between Israel and Yahweh, their God. That this relationship, this fellowship is going to exist here. And from this place, no matter the circumstance in life, they're going to be able to benefit from this fellowship and this relationship with God. So when there is sin, please listen, please see, please forgive. When there is trouble or when your people are defeated, again, please hear and restore. When there is no rain as a result of sin against you, again, hear, forgive, and send the rain. When there are just bad things that are happening within the land, things that are just a matter of living in a broken world, again, may you hear, forgive, and give everyone what they need. When even foreigners recognize how great you are and how strong your outstretched arm is, and whenever they pray toward this temple, may you hear them and do all that they ask of you. When your people go out to fight against their enemies, wherever you send them, again, may you hear and uphold their cause. When they have sinned against you, because hey, everybody falls and sins against you. Whenever you have deported them, which this is a very interesting thing for him to say here within this text, almost an anticipation of deportation. But really, this is just a building upon the understanding of Deuteronomy. If we're being honest about it, Solomon knows Deuteronomy, knows that this is one of the covenant curses. If they are not faithful, if they do not show covenant loyalty, God says, I'm going to kick you out of the land. You're not going to remain here. So Solomon builds upon that. If that is the case, if they sin against you, if you bring in enemies, if they deport your people, and yet once they recognize that they've done wrong, once they recognize that they sin, once they recognize that they've been wicked, and they return to you with all their mind, all of their heart, and they pray in the direction of this land, again, may you hear and may you forgive. May you hear and may you forgive. Again, we have the inclusio of open eyes and open and attentive ears, beginning at the beginning of this prayer, at the end of this prayer, and it all leads again to this place being the place where God would hear, listen, see, restore, forgive, uphold, provide. This place, the temple, this glorious structure. It was so glorious because it was the glorious presence of God. It represented that. His glorious presence. And Solomon knew that here in this place, the people would experience tremendous blessings. Not just because the place is glorious, but because, again, what it represented. So arise, Yahweh God, come to your resting place, you and your powerful ark, and may your priest, Yahweh God, be clothed with salvation. May your faithful people rejoice in goodness. Yahweh God, do not reject your anointed one. Remember the promises to your servant David. What a glorious thing for Solomon to request of Yahweh. And he can do so with great boldness, again, knowing the promises of God. And really, this applies to us so much, just as much, that the promises your servant David for us are the promises that he has made to his son, Jesus, that he has not rejected his anointed one, Jesus, and that we as priests of the church and of the kingdom now, we are clothed with salvation, and we rejoice in this goodness, knowing that God now dwells among us through his spirit, again, in the body of Christ, because the fullness of deity and of God dwells in Jesus. And if we belong to that body, then we have his spirit and we have his presence. And so many of these things remain true for us today. No, we don't have to turn toward a particular direction, because we are the direction. We are a part of that temple. And the same things that the people could pray for then, for God to listen, hear, see, restore, forgive, uphold, and provide, are the exact same things that he gives us today, the exact same things that we can pray for even today. I'm pretty sure we have this text in our either this one or the previous one within the Old Testament. We have this text in our prayer. We're going to look at in our prayer class. So I'm really looking forward to getting into that and dissecting it more even then. If you have any further comments, thoughts, observations, questions about this text, please feel free to leave that in the comment section below. And I do appreciate you taking some time reading along with me today on this Saturday. Let me double check real fast to make sure where we're going to be tomorrow. We are going to be in chapter 7. So tomorrow we'll be reading together 2 Chronicles chapter 7. Hope that you plan to tune in then as well. Again, have a great rest of your Saturday, everyone. Take care and God bless.